All right, we're back in. We are back in. We're not at Cracker Barrel today. Um, and you said, oh, you've been wearing that shirt on the last video. No, I haven't. I'm making multiple recordings the same day. I always do. I don't want to be doing one and then one and one. When I decide to go in, I go in. And that's what we're going to do. And I got another good one today that we really have to look at. And it applied to me, and I'm kind of always applications, right? So we're breaking out. We have a matrix, right? And I've been guilty of this. We got to break out. And what do we see? A bunch of suffering. And it's like we have to get out because all this is suffering, 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 suffering. And as you know, we see a lot of suffering. But my question is, think about this. If we consciously made the choice to come here for a school or learning, which I really believe now for sure we do, because for me, I see the structure of the organization above us, which I really learned in depth the last few months. And because I've learned that, it's made me see that we actually were in a state of what we were, chose to come down and be in the matrix and experience a 3D and the flesh reality, which would cause us pain, and cause abandonment and cause all these aspects of not knowing, forgetfulness into not remembering who we are, where we came from, right? But if we chose this, but we're harboring almost like we got to get out, almost a resentment. I hate this place. Why are we here? It's a soul trap, right? Many people are preaching and teaching soul trap. And what I really want to get into is the consciousness. Don't allow your consciousness to trap you into belief systems, even within the consciousness of soul trap or any of those things, which are definitely something that is out there and is being used by a lot of people in the conscious community. Which goes to me, if you're in a soul trap and you feel that you're in a matrix and there's no way out and we're stuck, that that's going to go into doom imprint and downwards into doom imprint and hopelessness. There's no shot. And what I really wanted to see is that if we made the choice to come here, we made the conscious choice to have this experience in the matrix, isn't because we was a trap, but it was an experience for our soul evolution that didn't have this experience, hence where it came from, because there's nothingness. There is no need for it there. That's not where it operates. It's unity consciousness of nothingness, with just capabilities, possibilities of so much more that we haven't even realized the possibilities of the realities that we can experience that are even way above the 3D reality, way above it, and I had to do some correction on myself recently because I would look at this, but if I came here for the experience and we were sent here for a mission to experience, and I signed off on my soul, signed off on this, before it was wrapped in this body, and it's been in many other bodies. I've had dreams seeing me. I've actually personally had dreams seeing me, and it was one of the unbelievable dreams that I had and ventured out into. It seemed like it was a dream that lasted for weeks. It was almost like a movie, but I seen me live in different centuries and the process of what happened in those centuries by dress, by observation of the people in that dream and the things that happened in this soul journey that I had in 2009, 2008, something like that, that forever changed me and had me do some things. And what I thought I was doing isn't what happened. And this is really something, what I just said right now, happens to us. And this is where even patience for me and a lot of certain things is to understand that some people go through some other stuff, and then in that other stuff that they're thinking that's all there is the next awakening goes, you thought it was this, but it was really this. And that happened to me in 2010, and that process happened to me again in 2012, 13, has 2012 walked around. And what am I saying is that you were very equipped to come here. Why? Because you're making it. We're here for a change, not to, and I really had to correct myself, chase tail and leave. But the change was us changing into elevated unity consciousness, where we see all the pain and suffering from the 3D level. And when you're kind of going into unit consciousness, you kind of start seeing it even more. It's like I have to shake my head and go, wow, people really suffer, and all we have is the things that we see on outside of us by the ones in control and power, and the structures we don't feel we have power in, right? But if we're here to make a change in the frequency and the vibration from a 3D reality to a 5D, which starts within us before we make the earth 5D, it has to be within us. You're the 5D outside of us doesn't matter. It has to happen within us. As if it happens within us, then the outside can be reflected because you're a projector. And that's why even in the matrix, you're a projector. So if you're having a hopelessness and it's a soul trap, you're projecting that in the matrix. You're projecting that in the matrix, because really the matrix, even in the matrix aspect of our reality and our experience, when we get on the flow of who we are, raising our body, and I've seen this, man, so vividly, it obeys you. It doesn't control you. You can create in the matrix a reality. And I'm not just talking about, and I'm not just looking at a 3D reality when I'm speaking. I'm speaking to them who are touching 5D, that have really taken their consciousness and have experienced unity consciousness from a different realm, have experienced unity consciousness and know it's real. No, because of experience. And many people who haven't, they just haven't yet. And that's okay. Sometimes I even have to, because trying to get people to see more, especially some of the people I know, and I know they're not seeing more, and they're only looking at it one way, not realizing this is a mirror reflection. Whatever you reflect in from the mirror is what you're going to get back to you. But it also, if you get to see the reflections, it will also wake you up that you're the reflector, you're the projector that's projecting the reality outside of you. You're the projector. Hence, are you coming from the mind, or are you coming from the heart? Are you coming from the brain, or are you coming from the center part of the brain that's more expansive? The heart. This is about awakening the heart and not being all in the head. The heart, where everything's packed in a reality that even can't be provable, like intuition, guidance, clairvoyance, any of these things that people have called outside of it supernatural, when it's really your nature completely from a elevated state and not a descendant state of being. I was talking to somebody recently very close to me, and they keep coming from a descendant state of expectations of this from this, and I'm like, you can't come from that. It never will, because from that state you're talking about is always going to be ego driven and lifted up. The ego is always going to find a way in with somebody unless they go into a higher evolution of unity. When you go into unity consciousness, the ego is just placed in, the ego now becomes a higher ego of serving your journey to you, help serving you your journey. And I've been in the state, I want the choice not to samsara. You've heard me even say it there. This is one thing about me as I learn. I'm still a student. I'm still learning. And if I'm being corrected, I have gratitude for correction. And very much a lot of gratitude for correction. And and then I started looking at it, and I started looking at something, and I started seeing it. And as I deep dived into my deeper parts of my unconscious, I started seeing that the capabilities and the real abilities is you came from a state of all and nothingness, where possibility was nothingness, which is a paradox of paradoxes, right? Nothing but all, rest but busy, but all capabilities which can be created or manifested. Even some of this manifested, and those levels are not manifested unless the reality changes out of a 3D. A person in 3D cannot amplify a person. That's why when we look outside of us in this awakening, we see the suffering, and we see our family members and just the world in general who's stuck and not awake in a sleep state of amnesia, and we know they're not awake, and we have empathy for them, but we can only wake them up unless it's our duty to help assist them in waking themselves up. You're nobody's savior, but you can assist and help. That would be what we see here. But we can also get caught in this, the spirit guide, or these people that are claiming to be soul people here to assist other people, and then catch them in a paradigm and then lock them in with your basic thoughts of still being controlled, or you have no options. You have all the options in the world, but you have to scan yourself for them. You have to deep dive in yourself. You have to know yourself. Knowing yourself and doing something is a noble act. Creating something and manifesting is a noble act. But also know the expansion and the noble acts can happen, or the greater ones don't happen in 3D unless the person goes upward and creates from another level up 5D because of the experience. And then I started really having to look at, if I know somebody that is telling me something, and then I'm observing they're really having experiences, because this stuff that I'm talking about is needed for it. You have to experience it. And it's like the intuition. I can tell you all day, somebody who doesn't know, I can sit up and tell you all day that somebody's just logical, that I have intuition. How do you know? Where's your proof? Where's your proof? I don't have proof from your logical brain, because it doesn't coincide with the other side of your brain or the other side of your heart of the feminine aspect, which is weird to that aspect, because women can be weird. What's weird is the creativeness from your intuition and your psychic abilities that you can't prove but are facts. The paradox is the last video I talked about, the paradox. So being stuck or wanting to leave the matrix when we agreed to come here and change it, harness it, look at it, be in it, but not be of it. That's a scripture. Jesus said, I'm in the world, but not of it. You're of your father, the devil. You're of the God of this world, which is, when you know Gnosticism, which is the God of this world. That's Gnostic. That's a very Gnostic scripture put in the New Testament, Roman-driven scriptures that take a lot of Gnosticism out, but they can't take it all. The Gnostics, or them who revelate, we would say, or them who read this stuff would say, oh, I see through that. That's very Gnostic. Or to say, Father, let them be one as we are one. And I think John, what chapter that was, that chapter, I used to even preach out of it. It shows you how much I don't read that part. I'm more into the Gnostic Gospels now and stuff like that. 30 something years in that book, I kind of started going to that. I mean, I want to order this book about this Buddhist book called Dharmapada, with all the quotes of Buddha, wisdom quotes from Buddha. I definitely want to, I'm getting ready to order that. But what am I saying is that we don't want to fool ourselves even though we have conscious abilities, by falling for not realizing you signed up for this. You made a soul thing. I'm going to go down there and I'm going to inspire myself to go into higher self, but others to create the 3D as it raises into 5D. And it raises into 5D, the people do. It will even create the 5D without us because we're the projectors of the reality. Why do you think they have movies? The movie aspect of the movies is exactly how we are. What do they take to the film? You have film over your eyes, right? They use the stars to create the film. Did you know that? Fallen stars create the film. They use what is it called? Psyllium that's in the stars that how they make film, right? Film. Notice it's a movie. Your movie. And they use the projector, right? The projector, your projectors, your creators. And you can be used unwillingly and unknowingly, because if you don't know who you are, you don't know your projector, you think everything outside of you is here. Actually, the collective created this. And some of us have been used to create it for the others, is to be honest. But you can take it back. Raise yourself from another aspect of this and create a reality for yourself, even from the higher realms that serve the higher realms, because you've grown out of the density. And now we have a unity consciousness, a Christ consciousness, a oneness consciousness, where duality is not, and division's not our main homeboy anymore, or our nature that we keep. See, if we keep fighting our purpose, we create through our projections the fight of our purpose, which ends up what happens in fights. What's projected, what happens in fights? Hopelessness, suffering. And this is why we see so much suffering in this 3D reality. And you can go out and see it. You go watch the news, what's happening all over the world with the wars and just the incredible stuff that we see outside of us that's 3D. But it's changing because you're changing. So there's a matrix trap that you're stuck. It's not that you're stuck. You are stuck, but you have to have the wisdom and frequency. And I'm telling you, the integration, which is the other side of it, is healing. Don't think you healed when you're half-stepped it. I'm telling you, we've half-stepped healing because we're still suffering with the same things for decades since we were children, because most of that all comes from children. The suffering that we had comes from our child, right? Our child inflictions. And also, there's some suffering and abandonment issues from the fall of nothingness into the splitting of ourselves into light and dark in the 3D reality. That's a hard fall. You jump from the top of a building down and see if it ain't a hard fall. We suffered a hard fall. How do I know? When babies are birthed, that's hard on the babies. That's not fun for babies to be birthed through their mother, as it's not. We always look at the women suffering through the birth. What about the child coming from nothingness and is now a baby that can't not do one thing on its own even after it came out? I could show you how calves and ponies and other animals immediately can come out and stand, but our children can't. We can't. We are the most helpless of all other beings when we're birthed as babies. We rely totally on a mama and daddy. And we really need our mom first, right? Because that's the nurturer, and the lower chakras connected to the nurturing and made feel safe. But we've gone through some shit with our parents, let's be honest, where we were victimized, even if it's just mentally abused, where they were victimized and they didn't even know they're doing wrong because they're unknowing, and it just carries on generations of stuff, right? All of us have. I mean, I've made statements with me that, for me, I never seen my mom and dad together, my literal biological dad and my mom together. I haven't. I've seen my mom and stepdad together for, God, 54 years, something like that. I think they'll have their 54th in November 8th. Together, but I don't remember. I'm isolated minute. In my memory, it's probably there from before, but my memory doesn't catch it now, but my memory does within, right? And even going through, think about even this suffering going through if you were a child that was, the parents thought about not keeping it, aborting, and then they don't. And then that frequency and vibration of they didn't want me is still there. And it was felt by that infant, even if it was in the womb still, or in the fluid of the woman, the portal carrier, the ones that have the wombs, the ones who can carry portals and take a living being from one side to the other. Yeah. That's that aspect of that, even not knowing. I have a friend who had this experience, Mike A, and he went to ayahuasca retreat and found out that he actually almost died through the process of birth. He found out in the retreat and then went in and found out it was facts later, because he kept dealing with this through 2 days in the ayahuasca retreat, because he kept dying, and then found out through that process he was the umbilical cord had tied around his neck, and that ended up being factual. So yeah. And then that brings up what? Traumas. We've had a lot of traumas. That's why we need to take them, harness them, integrate them. Integration, other side of it is healing. And then as you healing and you let it go, it gives you the space to go forth and not have these blockages that keep coming back at you, keep feeding you later, keep feeding as adults. And that's the reason why even a lot of this has happened, is because there's an old saying amongst Native American groups, and it's really anybody, but I noticed that was one of the things they say, when you get the child, and when you get the child, what was it? Save the child. There's a statement, save the child, something about the adult, meaning through our processing of our indoctrination, we get the child and mold the child they want. And then the child goes through that turmoil. And then if you notice in the world, the ones saying, oh, they were not treated right, all this other stuff, they're doing, but then they're going and taking the process of something else and then glorying in it. And I see it in the education system. They'll say, oh, the I've seen it. I'm Native American and white mixed, of course. It is. That's the way it is. Is people intermarry and intermarry. They do. It's not new. It goes back long time ago. Whenever you have different people living together, you're going to have that. There's going to be an attraction. Opposites attract. Like I've said, my dad is Mexican. Some people say, you don't look at it all. My dad is Mexican. Whether I look at it all or not does not change the fact that he is. His gene pool is just as much as my mom's gene pool. She just may have been more dominant in my physical makeup, but that doesn't mean that his DNA, it is there. And actually, I am part of all that, connected to that. And what am I saying? I'm saying that then I notice my Native Americans will say, brothers and sisters, will go get this college and then turn everything always to this certain thing of the judgment of the white man, which I've heard over and over, which I get, but also know it's not true, because 99.9% of so-called white people are not the PowerPoint here in this reality of the physical 3D. It's just 1% or less are. And they will use others who are not their same color that make a lot more money than somebody who may look like them. Athletes, actors, musicians, rappers, the wood, right? And become their puppets, but then use the educational system, which I'm going to tell you are programming systems for the agenda. Am I saying you can't get anything from them? No, I'm not, but programming system does go with it hugely. And then go into, I'm educated, I have all these degrees, but the white man is like, you went to their colleges, but then everything else. And this is when you don't know. You don't know. Your culture has been faded into into what it was at one time of knowledge, and you're adopting things that are programming, religion, programming. We all, those of us, it doesn't matter what you are, it's programming centers. Is there truth in it? Slightly. It even can help you for a while, but if you're excelling consciously, you'll leave it because it's not going to excel you consciously. And I can go into why. So what am I saying is but let's go back. I'm going to digress to why you're here. You were here to help change and show the matrix and then raise the frequency and vibration of divinity and humanity coming as one, and how the divinity of yourself and the humanity of yourself can resonate, integrate, and become one. And then the unity consciousness rises above the 3D basic animalistic consciousness, which will always go into egotistical unless it's taken out of it and has a conscious awakening that what they are and take responsibility, right? So don't get caught up in, so what am I saying? The matrix trap and the consciousness traps happen when you think it's just a prison planet. It's because you need to do the work on yourself instead of trying to trap everybody into a trap. Because if it's a trap, you're going to go into doom imprint and you're hopeless. Which, no, what does that connect to? Oh, depression. I'm just saying, we are not that. We are here to implement a purpose because we signed up from the higher realms to be that purpose. And I even digress on myself and take responsibility on myself as how I observed it. Because when you're observing in certain aspects of that, you're observing in fear, and then you're projecting it. You're projecting hopelessness. You're projecting trap. You're projecting, when all you had to do was start learning to get unstuck from self. You guys have a great day.